Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing our second Q&A for this week, leading up to The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 11, which is called Hostiles and Calamities. And spoiler warning, of course, if you're not caught up for Walking Dead up to the end of episode 10. So I'm just going to name this one, Why Did Daryl... That way it's spoiler-free for people that are in the UK or whatever, maybe haven't seen episode 10 yet. So why did Daryl lie to Carol is really what it comes down to. Wanted to focus on this one a little bit more, give some extended thoughts, because we just briefly touched on it in the review, and you guys can write your comments below. So after all this time separated, you know, it's obviously a huge deal that both Glenn and Abraham were killed off in the season premiere for season 7. Daryl finally reuniting with Carol again and decides not to tell her. For this one, for me, I kind of felt like it was mostly because he felt like she couldn't handle it. He felt like it was too much for her to handle, and that she had already been going through so much that he decided it was best to lie. You know, generally lying is really not good. It's the truth will set you free. At first, can make you miserable. Man, it's a tricky one. Did he make the right call there? I personally wanted to see him just tell her the truth, wanted to see him just tell her what happened. But, I do like kind of the way that they kind of reference Carol back in season 5 when she first arrives at Alexandria, when she kind of jokingly says that she's sort of the mother of the group, so to speak. And, I actually like that a lot. I actually think, even though it's said in a joking way, she is kind of that protective mother of the group. She is that, caring, loving, nurturing, mother to represent the group in the zombie apocalypse. So, of course, she has to mama bear that stuff sometimes, and sometimes the claws have to come out to protect those of the group that she loves and cares about, and she has to get pretty badass when she needs to sometimes. But that said, still, I think he should have told her anyway, because, hiding it from her and giving her kind of the fairy tale sort of, usual kind of story, does she buy it 100%? I don't think she does. I mean, I think she kind of wants to believe it, and she's happy because Daryl has just told her this. But I think the more she thinks about it, she's going to realize that that's actually not true, and there's no way that could be true. And also, he doesn't look at her when he says it. He kind of looks down and everything like that, and kind of the way he's responding to her would kind of allude to that they did lose some people. And of course, they lost Glenn, Abraham, but then also to other characters that she did know. Olivia, she's probably going to feel bad about too, because she did know her briefly in Alexandria. And also, Olivia was someone who was not a fighter. She's not strong, and you could definitely feel bad for her. And I think Carol would, having known her in Alexandria, as well as Spencer too. So, that's really 4. And, from her perspective, I mean, that's quite a bit. Obviously, she would be pretty depressed, and she's already kind of depressed to begin with. So I guess he decided to lie instead of telling her the truth, because it would have he felt like maybe it would have pushed her a little bit too far. Julio Bernal said, Trev, what do you think will happen when Carol finds out he was lying? So I think she will find out by the end of this season, probably within the next episode or 2. She'll probably have a sneaking suspicion that he was lying, and that that's not the truth, because it never really works that way almost. You pretty much never get through some kind of battle or something like that in The Walking Dead without somebody being killed one way or another. It's very, very unusual that you wouldn't see anybody pretty much die during a battle like that. So I think she's going to know. She's going to kind of figure it out. She's smart enough, I think, to kind of think about it and realize, okay, that's probably a fairy tale. That's probably not true. That's not the world we live in. If it was like that, she wouldn't be depressed and wanting to be in solitude by herself, and it being too painful for her to see those around her be killed off. So the character progression for Carol, the development, is totally natural, I want to say, because she cares so much to protect everybody, that this is kind of a shutting down for her. She's kind of shut down because it's been too long. She's been trying to protect everybody, and she hasn't been able to, and because that's the world they live in. She knows that's what it is, and now she's shut down as a result. And I think she kind of knows deep down inside that what Daryl told her is not true. I think she's going to have her suspicions. I think she's going to figure that out, and within the next couple episodes, we should see her kind of realize that. And she might be upset at him for lying about it, but she might understand why he did it. Next one was from Raphaël Tremblay. He said, okay, guys, stop calling Daryl dumb because he didn't tell Carol the truth. She was clearly already broken, and she couldn't have taken more. So that's kind of what I agree with Raph in this one. That's pretty much where it was at. And, it's sad to see, but what can you do? It's just maybe sometimes it is best to lie to people, I guess. If people are terminally sick or ill or something, are you going to tell them they're dying? Especially if they're like, what if you had like a kid that had cancer or something? What are you going to do? Are you going to tell them that they're dying? Or are you going to just tell them that, you know what, you're going to be okay, everything's going to be okay, it's going to be all right? And, man, that's tough. Tough questions. I generally always go with the truth, even if it makes you miserable, because it's kind of like letting it out there and just going with it naturally. But you can definitely see why he decided not to tell them the truth. Kevin Thorne says, did you notice they toned down the violence on the Winslow kill? And I kind of, it's kind of bothering me, right? Whenever it comes to kills right now, at least for a little while, it seems like they're not really showing it all the way through. I thought it was okay for the Winslow kill because we got the idea that Rick had him down and, he's finishing the job. But I do kind of miss that Nicotero, showing us exactly what happened, like in Season 5 in Terminus and No Sanctuary with the trough, when the dude gets hit, Sam gets smoked, Penguin from Gotham, smoked with a bat and then cut open and then the blood spills forward. The Walking Dead's been brutal for a long time. For them to tone it down is like, well, this is Season 7, and we've already been through 6 full seasons with full-on violence all the way through and brutality. You're going to, tone it down now. It's like, all right. I mean, I guess they got to do what's best for the show. Personally, I hope when they release the DVD and Blu-ray, they have kind of all these things that they cut out. We get to see them all. So as long as they do that, as long as they include it with the Blu-ray DVD release, I'm not too angry about it because it's kind of like the Negan swearing thing. I would love to see it. I would love to see Negan swearing. I would love to see all the brutality and violence to make it as real as possible. But if they have to cut it for the TV airing audience and then give it to us later in Blu-ray or DVD, that's fine. If they gotta do that for the show, okay. I get it, no problem. But I do want to see it released, though. I do want to see it on the Blu-ray DVD. And if they don't include it, then I'll be upset because it's like, well, we should have seen that. We should have that option. So I don't know, because personally I like to see it. But I know not everybody's like that, and for the casual audience, they have to do what they have to do. So maybe the casual audience, it does turn people off. Maybe they're right. I don't know. But it kind of sucks. RalphWiggimsImagination. I like this name, RalphWiggimsImagination. You choose me. Only thing that sucked was they didn't show the Spike Walker kill. Not showing Walker kills now. Looks like they are toning it down, despite what Gimple and Nicotero claimed to be, so that's clearly not true. So we're talking about lying in this video right now. maybe they didn't tone it down. Maybe it just looks like it, and maybe that's just how they filmed the kill. I don't know. That's kind of tricky. We'll see in interviews and stuff. If I hear anything, I'll let you guys know. Was it toned down, or was that just how the filming ended up being? We know Nicotero did not direct this episode, so if he didn't direct it, maybe that could just be how it turned out. But it did kind of look like they kind of went around it, just like the Fat Joey kill. So, oh man, that's not cool. And also, like you said here, it's not like it's a person; it's a walker. It's a zombie. It's not like, okay, he might have a name. They might call him Winslow because maybe he was important to them. Maybe he was the previous leader or something. I don't know, but. Even still, it's not a human. It's not a live person anymore. It's just a zombie. So you're just putting him out of his misery, basically. So, that's really weird that they would even tone that down. I mean, it makes me think of some of the Guts kills and like the Noah kill against the glass in the door and how he just gets ripped to shreds. And now you're complaining about brutality? It's like, what? It's just... Anyway, we've done lots of videos on that. I'm not going to beat it to death. Anna Hunt and Med1965 says, Trev, do you think Sherry gets the iron for helping Daryl escape? And that is why Dwight is so angry in the preview. So that's a really cool prediction. I hadn't really thought of that. So your guys' prediction is basically that Negan will figure out that Sherry released Daryl and then will punish her by burning the face. I would like to see that, but I don't think he's smart enough to know that Sherry did that. I think Sherry's strength is that she is really good at playing the politics and at controlling information and gaming, right? And I don't think he'll figure it out, basically. I don't think he'll figure out that she was the one who did it, if in fact it was her and not Jesus, because we don't even know if she did, right? So we'll see what happens, but I like your prediction. That would be crazy to see, but I don't think that's what we're going to see. I don't think that's how it's going to go. Next one is from Rob Nightingale, and he says, Trev, do you think Rick will get an infection in his hand and it will have to be amputated? The director focused on it an awful lot in episode 10. So that's something that they've been teasing, and kind of I mentioned it in the previous Q&A, kind of like going over a bunch of times, is whether or not Rick is going to lose the hand. Maybe what they can do in the TV series version is, because of all the injuries he suffered to his hand, maybe his hand just doesn't work very well. Maybe after this, major knife went through it and everything, maybe he won't be able to shoot too well with it. That's a way that they could use, some prosthetic makeup and just put some scars on his hand or something and have his fingers not, work too well without having to CG cut it off. Like in the comic series, of course, he gets his hand cut off by the governor. In the TV series version, maybe he just gets his hand so injured that they don't have to CG cut it off and do CG all the time, but yet it can be the same kind of deal where his hand doesn't really work. So it kind of fits, right? It's like, his hand can't really aim, can't really grip, so maybe he's not able to use the python so much anymore because the kickback with his hand, he can't control it or something because it's the tissue's so damaged. So I would like to see that, and that's a good point. Usually when they focus on stuff like the gun locker and the Oceanside, it's for a reason most of the time. They do it purposefully for a reason because they're going to come back to it later. So you might be right, they may come back to that later. We'll have to see. Jimmy L. Steamer says, at least everyone can shut up about the mystery person being Morales. And for Jimmy, if you think that's going to make them stop talking about Morales, you got another thing coming, man. We're like keeping this thing alive, aren't we? Like literally, I think, with what's going on right now, you guys are keeping this alive. You're keeping Morales alive, because otherwise it's like, I wouldn't even be surprised in a couple seasons if they brought him back into the show with the online community and you guys just keep talking about him, and it irritates me all the time. I always get angry, but now it's going to be like I'm going to be my own worst enemy, because I think by doing this, they may actually hear about this from fan mail and stuff like this and forums and shit, and they may actually bring him back in the show. like this could actually, because sometimes fans can impact what you see in the show, and fan feedback can really actually change things. Such is the case with not really fans, but them saying the series was too violent in the UK and the commission over there, and then changing the show. So sometimes feedback can change the show. I think you guys are taking this to such an extreme that you may actually somehow get them to include Morales back when they probably had no intention of bringing him back at all. So anyway, if you think that's going to make them stop, Jimmy, you got nothing coming. It's not going to make them stop. The Last Trap God says AMC just keeps teasing Rick potentially losing his right hand, both literally and symbolically. So yeah, we just touched on that one. Very true. Brian Smith says, who else thought Rick's hand was gone? He went through Winslow's head. Me too, as well. Ryan Francis says, Q&A, how do you think the group would survive if the zombies were the ones from Dawn of the Dead? So the runner zombies, the fast zombies. I've done lots of videos on this in the past. I don't think anybody can really survive if you want to do it in a realistic fashion. I know some movies like World War Z and stuff do that, but they have like a cure and stuff like that, and some people that are immune. When it comes to fast zombies like that, if you want to be realistic about it, nobody would survive. I mean, like, it doesn't matter how great you are or whatever, unless you just never have to go outside and you just, shut down and are really, really quiet and stuff and wait for them to kind of, starve out. Unless you do like a bunker thing, if you're out in the world, you're screwed. Like, there's no way. If you had a herd of runners, you can't, there's no way you'd be able to survive that, man. I mean, long term, you can't be realistic and say, like, okay, well, Rick is such a badass that he could do this and that. Against runners, no way. They'll be on you, like, in a second, right? Because they can run basically as fast as you can. They don't get tired, right? Because they don't really feel pain in the same way as we do. So, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Going along the line of runner zombies, Zachary Tanner says, leader of the Junkyard Group looks like Mila Jovovich. I haven't seen the new Resident Evil movie yet. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, she's the head lead in the Resident Evil series. I have actually heard people compare Maggie's costume in Season 3 to Mila Jovovich. And actually, when I look at it, I think to myself, like, is that kind of inspired by Mila Jovovich's look? I think actually it is, because it's so close that how could it not be? Kind of the badass, the boots and everything, the pants, and just the way she looks, even the haircut and everything is very, very similar to the way Mila Jovovich looks in Resident Evil. Check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. Look at Maggie Season 3. Compare it to the Resident Evil movies around that time. Very similar. MB8577 says, in all seriousness, Father Gabriel is becoming a badass, dude. So yeah, I absolutely agree. He is. He's becoming quite the badass character, and I really like what they've done with him in the show. Really impressive, because at first we pretty much hate him, and him and Rick have a really cool relationship, and yeah, he's very impressive, man. Very, very cool. So that'll be it for today's Q&A, guys. Keep sending me your questions for the rest of this week. We got lots of days leading up to episode 11. If you like the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite. If you're new and you want to subscribe, you can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this video, guys. We'll see you again soon tomorrow for another. Trev, same peace. Later, guys. See you tomorrow.
You better subscribe.